What is the craziest truth or dare challenge you have ever seen performed? Story 1. We were playing in my mate's living room. It started fairly benign, 2 girls kiss etc. Anyway, as we got a little more drunk we moved on to things like take all your clothes off and run the road that loops the village. The one that killed it though, the one that after conclusion made people question if they had gone too far. So, one of the girls dared one of the guys to shag another guy until one of them finished, and they had to do it where everyone could see. When their response was that nobody had lube, she helpfully produced it from her purse and aided in the application. She also helped the pitcher, I guess, to get into a more aroused state. Both of the guys involved were straight. I think the worst part, looking back, was that everyone else in the group just sat back drinking their drinks as they watched 2 guys explore their sexuality. Once the dare was completed we decided we were never going to play that game again and maybe just drank instead. To this day I have, personally, never played another game of True or Dare since that one. Story 2. Went to a prestigious boarding school for high school from sophomore to senior years. Because it's so prestigious, there are a lot of rich white kids. I was not rich and was on financial aid and got a shit ton off my tuition because my mom worked in the admissions office, but that's not super important. Anyway, a lot of rich white kids means a lot of drugs and alcohol. I've never been much for either of those things, but peer pressure made me try them both at least once. The first time I got drunk was at a small get-together with me, one of my guy friends, one of my girlfriends, and like 5 or 6 other people I didn't know well, but were in my grade. So, 8 16-year-olds, drunk, playing Truth or Dare in the basement of a dorm at 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday. Another important thing to note is that one of the dorm advisors was in the common room on dorm duty and was under the impression that I was in my room. I got dared at one point to walk into my common room in nothing but my boxers, have my dick hanging out of the opening, and ask the advisor what the class schedule was for Monday. To make sure I did it, my friend had to come up and watch from the kitchenette that was in the common room. 10 minutes later, we came back down to the basement, said that I did it, and my girlfriend who I had a small crush on made out with me. Little did they know that the advisor had gone home and the common room was empty and dark, and my friend and I agreed to tell them I did it. I then dated my girlfriend for a year. I told her eventually, and she laughed her ass off. Story 3. Well, it was a game in college of about 8 or so people that mostly dealt with drinking tequila and little else. Half eventually left for another party while the rest of us kept playing. The remaining 2 girls were bi, and had in fact previously dated one another. I was dared by one of them to fondle the breasts of the other, who happily obliged, while she said, "Aren't they so perfect?" Eventually it was just me, the redhead, who dared me to fondle breasts, and a gay friend of ours. For the record, I am a straight open-minded male. We go to the redhead's room and the game devolves into us taking turns daring one another to do things to the remaining person. No one is clothed at this point, thanks to tequila. Our gay friend is dared to kiss me, and I figure that, hell, this is college. I might as well experiment now. So I go along with it. Ultimately, the redhead is straddling my chest and making out with me while I play with her ample breasts. The fellow is behind her, going down on me. Eventually it becomes apparent to all of us that I'm not turning bisexual anytime soon, and our gay friend leaves. The redhead and I spent the rest of the night and morning sexing up one another. Nothing ever came of the experience, really. Redhead wasn't interested in dating, and the fellow and I remained friends despite my lack of reciprocation. Makes for a good story though. Story 4. Back in college, played Truth or Dare with some friends, guys plus girls, while drinking heavily. We have one friend, we will call him H, who is one of those really creepy drunks. Like, he becomes overly open and flirtatious and just all around super weird and uncomfortable to be around. Anyway, at one point during the night someone, jokingly, dares him to do a naked lap around the house. He strips to the bone without hesitation, and runs around the house naked. We thought it was a little weird, but he did what was asked of him without fighting it so good on him, right? No. When he gets back inside, He just sits there, with the rest of us, still naked, not bothering to put clothes back on. For the rest of the night, no matter what we were doing, he would randomly yell naked lap and do another one. He never put his clothes back on even after like 10 naked laps. Even after Truth or Dare ended. It was very awkward. Also, his girlfriend was present throughout the whole ordeal, so that's how I found out they were into exhibitionism. Story 5. This all happened on the same night, with zero alcohol involved. We were at the National Speech and Debate Tournament in Overland Park, Kansas. Started out somewhat innocent. I made out with a few girls, a few unlucky dudes had to kiss each other, I got to cop a feel, etc. Then one of my buddies walked back into the hotel room. He, one other guy, and this really hot girl had been down in the lobby for some fresh air. While down there, one guy dared my buddy and the girl to walk over to the convenience store at the reception desk and buy a box of condoms. While holding hands, they were playing the odds game. One person asks, "What are the odds that you do?" You must respond with number 10. Someone then counts down from 3, and if you both say the same number, the person must do the dare. My buddy ended up not having to do it anyway, but it was such a hilarious idea that him and the girl went through with it. They thought, great, now we have a box of condoms. What next? On the elevator back up, the same guy dared my buddy to walk into the room and slap me in the face with an unrolled condom. So there I am, enjoying the game, when my friend walks up to me and says, "Hey, guess what?" Boom. Condom slap to the face. I was too stunned to be pissed, so I just laughed. Later on that night, the girls all had to strip down to their underwear and one of the guys got to grope and slap all their asses. There were some nice asses that night. Unfortunately, no one got naked. Had there been alcohol involved, I'm certain someone would have. Story 6. My freshman year in college, just after first semester finals. I had been spending a lot of time hanging out with this girl and started liking her. We fooled around a little bit from time to time. She seemed to like me well enough too. Anyway, we were hanging out with a group of friends at an off-campus apartment, and some beer and some vodka started getting drank, some weed may have been smoked, and we ended up playing that game. Eventually, the girl I liked was dared to blow all 4 the dudes there. She didn't even hesitate. And what's worse, I wasn't even first. So this girl I've spent the last semester getting feelings for is sucking dicks and getting fingered by 3 guys while I just kind of sit there with my heart breaking. Finally, I was the 3rd one she got to. After I came, I felt worse than I would have if I had just walked out. I think I talked to her maybe 2 times after that day. Just drifted away from the whole group. Never really told anybody why, but I'm sure she at least managed to put it together. Thought about getting in touch with her a few times over the past couple years, but I figure it would be weird and it's better just to leave it alone. Story 7. I was 16, and still very much an awkward teenager. Sitting at home one night when my phone rang. A group of girls were going to a party at my good friend's house and wanted me to tag along since they knew he and I were close. So we get there and it's a normal party situation. Someone got a case of beer, another stole some liquor from their parents' cabinet. So after an hour or 2, everyone was teenager buzzed and getting flirty. We sit down for a game of truth or dare and the typical kiss her and take your shirt off goes around a few times. So after about an hour, there's a bunch of us half naked in a circle. This is around the time where it goes downhill. My buddy's dad comes home early from whatever he was doing and we hear the garage door open. We all panic and try to redress as quickly as possible. In the calamity, I grabbed a girl's shirt and she starts freaking out because she couldn't find it. His dad walks in as I'm struggling to put on what I finally figured out wasn't my shirt, and starts yelling at us all to get out. I gave the girl back her shirt as everyone is rushed out of the house. I'm the last to leave as I want to find my clothes, but give up after his dad is getting seriously pissed off at me. By the time I get to the driveway, I notice the girls have left without me. So I'm stuck a few miles away from home without a ride and a shirt. I said, Fuck it, there's no remedying this situation, and just ran my drunk ass as far as I could. I made it about halfway before I stopped to catch my breath in a neighborhood next to a greenbelt. I'm paused on the sidewalk when I look up and see a cop parked a few houses down. Cop flicks on his headlights and I just stopped. There was no way I was going to make this situation any worse. So they pull up next to me and ask if everything is okay. I was completely honest with them and told the entire story. I fully expected a ticket, but they just started laughing at me and offered a ride home. When I got home, I see my mom sitting on the porch smoking a cigarette. So I step out of a cop car, half naked in the middle of the night, to my mother shaking her head looking like hellfire has struck deep in her soul. I got grounded for 2 weeks. Totally worth it though, because I saw my first titty that night. Story 8. I was a junior in high school. Was over at a friend's house playing beer pong without beer. We used unsugared Kool-Aid. Yeah, we were that cool. Anyway, when you got a ping pong ball and a cup, there was a number on the bottom corresponding to a truth or dare we had written out previously. My dare was to run around the perimeter of the house in my underwear. So I stripped down and run to the door only to find a police officer standing there. I screamed motherfucker and slammed the door in their face. I opened the door again, 2 officers made their way in and began asking questions. They told us they wanted everyone to take breathalyzers. We all jumped at the chance to do so. I personally had never taken a breathalyzer before. However, once they saw our enthusiastic cooperation, they told us that they didn't have enough mouthpieces and to forget about it. They concluded we were not doing anything illegal, we weren't, and left. Come to find out later, the neighbors across the street called the police because they saw one of us drinking beer, which ended up being an IBC root beer. Also found out that there were 5 police officers waiting outside in the back of the house in case any of us decided to run. Best game of truth or dare ever. Story 9. When I was a freshman in college, 2 of my friends shared an apartment with this gay guy I was really into. One night we were over there drinking on the balcony and the guy and his boyfriend, who lived a few states away, came out and chatted with us. We offered them some drinks and we somehow got into drinking in truth or dare. My friend Sarah, bless her heart, knew I was into this guy, and his boyfriend was hot, too, so she eventually dared me to kiss the boyfriend, and then for us to all kiss together. I was extremely pleased, and both of the guys seemed like it too. Eventually the night ended and I crashed on their couch in the den because I was too drunk to get home. After everyone goes into their respective rooms, the 2 guys opened their door and invited me in, and that's how I had my first threesome because Sarah is a total bro. Story 10. Okay, so this happened a few months ago, maybe October. I was hanging out with my roommate and we decided to make a new drinking game up. Ended up being we all had to take as many shots as we can handle, and the person who takes the least in the session had to take a dare from the person who took the most. Needless to say, we made it up to target a specific guy we really didn't like. He talks a lot of shit and can't back it up to your face. Real shit-eating grin too, and he stole a bunch of our shit and acted like he didn't while I watched him do it. We had a serious grudge against him, and despite talking a big game, he really couldn't handle his alcohol. My roommate wins, and he loses as we'd expected. We got him to pass his cell phone around and let everybody in the room send one text message. I texted his mom asking for some speed. He looks like a speedhead. Somebody texted his girlfriend saying he was cheating, and my roommate sent a picture of his own penis, which he whipped out and took a picture of in front of everybody, to the 18-year-old sister. Story 11. Freshman year in high school, truth or dare, and we had changed the rules a bit. All a little messed up already. We got to the point all teen truth or dare does when the first sexual dares start coming out. A girl had flashed the boys her tits. A guy had to pull out his dick and show the girls, and then the real one happened. A friend dared the chick I had a crush on to get into a 3-girl circle of oral. 3 girls in the ring, 3 guys. They all just start undressing and go at it. There wasn't even any looking at each other to see if the others wanted to. That part sticks out in my mind almost as much as the fact that not a single one of us guys took off a single bit of clothing, touched a single girl, or said a single word. We sat there doing nothing. Just teens completely lost in what to do. The entire time I was thinking, any second now I'm getting in on this. Never did. They stopped and kinda looked at us. One was almost mad at us, and she tried to continue the game with a dare that I can't remember, and I can't remember how the game ended, but I did end up f***ing the chick I didn't have a crush on, which in hindsight meant I fucked the hotter one of the three. So all in all a win. But goddamn if we didn't freeze up completely there.